who's as adamant about his or her position as I am about mine, whom you think is sharp. Seriously, we know that. And another thing, we heard him say that... Hey sports fans, Larry Elder here with another edition of And Another Thing. Believe it or not, this is edition number 82. I thank you for your patronage. If you want to become an Eldorado, go to LarryElder.com, fill out the form. You'll become an Eldorado by getting a free copy of Michael and Me. That is my feature-length documentary where I actually ambushed Michael Moore, the director who ambushed other people. And I said to him, how often do Americans use guns every year to defend themselves? We know how many times guns are used for bad purposes. You tell us all the time. But how many times do Americans, law-abiding Americans, pull out a firearm, often just brandishing it, Michael Moore, I ask him, and defend themselves? How many? He didn't have a very good answer. I think you'll enjoy it. Go to LarryElder.com, become an Eldorado. Now for episode number 82 of And Another Thing. Let's do Scandal Update. This is now President Obama's 6th year in office. And let me tell you something. I have never seen an administration beset by so many scandals. Others have been in more difficulty. Richard Nixon certainly was, because had he not resigned, he would have been impeached. But look at Obama. Obama's poll numbers now are lower than those of George W. Bush. Put your arms around that. George W. Bush was the most maligned, hated president that I've seen this side of Richard Nixon. And if you look at the numbers right now, Obama's poll numbers are now lower than those of George W. Bush. Why? You could talk about all the scandals that you want, and we'll get to that. But the primary reason is this. It's the economy, stupid. The famous statement made by Bill Clinton. President Obama has been in office 6 years. I think about after 3 or 4 months of his presidency, the recovery officially began. So this is the 5th year of his economic recovery. And as I've told you repeatedly, this is the worst economic recovery arguably ever, certainly the worst since the Great Depression, certainly the worst since the Second World War. Why? It is because Obama has done the opposite things that other presidents have done that have generated growth. Other presidents like... Anyway, you have all these scandals. You also have, of course, the NSA scandal. We now find out, contrary to what James Clapper said, our nation's top spy, that the NSA is collecting massive phone mining. We found that out from Ed Snowden. Call him what you want. Ed Snowden did reveal all sorts of things, but for him having betrayed his country, in my opinion, we wouldn't have known these kinds of things. And this is an administration that trashed the Bush administration for being on the dark side, for lurking, and for using all sorts of black arts method. And now we're finding out that they've taken whatever George W. Bush did a step further. You have the AP scandal, where this administration has apparently subpoenaed and gone after more reporters than any other administration in history. So AP, IRS, the Bergdahl scandal, did I omit that? This is this sergeant who was traded for 5 terrorists. And now the speculation is that the sergeant may have been a deserter. And he's back now, been back stateside now for some time, and hasn't spoken to his parents, apparently, hasn't spoken to the media. We still don't know what the deal is. My feeling is that a cover-up is still going on. So you have the VA scandal, the IRS scandal, the Bergdahl scandal, and of course you have Iraq. And Iraq right now, where it's a lot of who shot John, meaning whose fault is it that Iraq right now is in this state of civil war? And the answer is it's Obama's fault. To be sure, we did go into Iraq and we did change the country. But when we left in 2011, Obama pronounced it peaceful and safe and secure. A year before that, Joe Biden said it's going to be one of the great achievements of the Obama administration. And so they left. They did not negotiate what's called a status of forces agreement, which meant that we would have left a residual force. About 20,000 people is what most people thought we were going to do. Instead, Obama bugged out altogether. Now, he claims he bugged out because the Iraqis were intransigent, but the real deal is Obama used that as an excuse to bug out because he wanted to bug out. So these are the scandals that we're facing right now. And now we have economic news. Surprise, surprise, the last month had 288,000 jobs created, and the unemployment rate has gone from 6.3 down to 6.1%. Don't be misled. The big number is the labor force participation rate. And that still matches a 35-year low, meaning a whole bunch of people have just said, to hell with it, I'm leaving. Now for your question. Thank you, sir. Franklin is from Louisville, Kentucky, home of Muhammad Ali. Is there a way to question or challenge this administration on anything without being called a racist? I don't recall anyone that was black or Hispanic being called racist when they did not agree with something George W. Bush did. If you were a conservative black, or Hispanic, and you criticized George W. Bush, people cheered that because that meant that even you were on his side and you were criticizing him. If you're a black Hispanic or black or Hispanic and you're criticizing George W. Bush, of course that works because you're a liberal. Criticizing George W. Bush is a good thing. Now, when you are a black person, you're criticizing Obama, that's a whole different thing. Tavis Smiley has been an ardent critic of Obama from the left. Have you heard anything about Tavis Smiley in the last year or two or three? Have you been seeing him on Meet the Press and other places? I'm not saying there's a conspiracy, but the Obama administration, I know, is livid at him, and they feel that he's betrayed them. Now all of a sudden you don't see Tavis Smiley very much anymore. I think that criticizing Obama from the left if you're black might very well be even worse than criticizing Obama from the right if you're black. I hope you enjoyed this small excerpt. If you want to see the full video, got to be in El Dorado. Go to my website, LarryElder.com, log in, fill out the form. It'll cost you about $4.75 a month, or about the price of a mocha frappuccino latte at your favorite coffee house. As you can tell, I don't like coffee. I'm a tea drinker. See you next time.